When Bungie had released Halo 3 back in 2007, the game was a massive success, and was meant to end the story of the Master Chief, an epic finale to an amazing trilogy. But how do you make a sequel to a game that was meant to be the end of the story? Well, you don't. But what you can do is go back to what got you started. And with that, the idea of the prequel sequel was born, and it would eventually become Halo Reach. But it was divisive with its launch, on both the campaign and multiplayer fronts. Today, I look at Halo Reach's campaign, to try to analyze the story, gameplay, and every other aspect of design, to try to figure out why I absolutely love this game. This is Halo Reach, a story about heroes who went missing in action. Reach was the last Halo game Bungie worked on before moving on to other works, and destroying their legacy, but let's not worry about that. During Reach's development, Bungie wanted to look back and recognize what made Combat Evolved incredible. They wanted to emphasize the environment, the setting, the open-minded mission design, while also having grand, big set pieces that utilize the AI and environments to its advantage. Bungie tried to mimic the feeling of stepping out of the life pod during the second mission of Halo CE, the atmosphere that the ring gave, but also intending to create a story that felt incredibly gritty, dark, scary, and realistic. A story that had incredibly human characters which would take advantage of the newest technology at the time, allowing for more expressive and realistic faces, as well as more detailed weapons and worlds. But did Bungie succeed at their goals? Yes, they did. And in this video, I go over each piece of the campaign in an attempt to explain why this experience is so magical. What can I say about the music of all the games that hasn't been said already? Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore managed to create a score that gives each scene and moment its emotional punch. The music helps give the game its atmosphere, the tensity of situations, and manages to give the feels needed for each scene. Sadness, anger, desperation, hope are only a few of the emotions given to the player throughout each of the compositions. The soundtrack consists of a lot of piano, which is used to great effect to present the scope and set the tone for each scene. Each song goes along with the gameplay seamlessly and is used to great effect. The soundtrack, as the last Halo game Bungie made, managed to remix old songs while also having new ones. This manages to give older players who have been with the Halo series for years a massive sense of nostalgia while also being unique in its own different way. Though I'm not a music composer, I can say that Halo Reach's music is phenomenal. For Halo Reach's gameplay, Bungie wanted to look back at Halo Combat Evolved, with big open environments that allowed for a lot of freedom. Reach manages to not only do this, but create such unique levels, New Alexandria being a major standout with its combination of air and ground combat, as well as the Long Night of Solace, which has space combat and lower gravity maneuvers. These are just two examples of great level design seen in Reach. The weapon and vehicle sandbox managed to take a new spin on things. Armor abilities are such unique mechanics for a Halo game, and a lot of the new weapons are all viable and fun to use. But a problem with the sandbox to me is the replacement or removal of many weapons and vehicles. The battle rifle, equipment, chopper, hornet, and many others were replaced or just outright removed. But my biggest problem with the sandbox is the removal of dual wielding. It's incredibly sad, because dual wielding is just such a badass and fun mechanic. It allowed for just these amazing moments of inflicting power over your enemy. All the weapons are balanced and they help with the difficulty. Playing Halo Reach on Legendary is something that you'll be incredibly proud of beating. Halo Reach's campaign stands out from Bungie's other Halo games due to its grand set pieces, environments, and art style. Examples include the bustling and interesting wildlife throughout Winter Contingency, the dogfights between Banshees and Falcons in Oni's sword base, as well as the collapsing skyscrapers and the super carrier looming over the planet, blasting it with plasma in New Alexandria. The cinematic shots that are shown throughout the entire game help the environments feel big and grand. Reach's art style helps the campaign due to the gritty, more realistic designs of the Spartans' armors and weapons, with all the scratches and battle damage that help set the tone of a raging battlefield. The 6 Spartans sent to Reach, known as Noble Team, are consistently interesting, compelling, and diverse. If you wanted a very basic description of them, I would tell you this. Carter, Noble 1, the calm, no-sense leader who can handle any situation. Kat, Noble 2, the battle-scarred tech genius who's an excellent strategist. June, Noble 3, the sarcastic, even comedic marksman that manages to scout out areas. Emil, Noble 4, daring, close combative, and cold-blooded, someone who sees war as a game and revels in it. George, Noble 5, an older Spartan that comes blasting into the battlefield. Though intimidating in size and stature, he's a gentle giant. I am bulletproof! And lastly, Noble 6, the player character with an unknown past. Throughout the campaign, the player gets to see how members mix, whether it's Emil and George's differences, or Carter knowing that he can rely on Kat for planning and strategy. The chemistry between the members of Noble Team is subtle but incredibly deep, interesting, and thought-provoking. Because sometimes, less is more. And Noble Team is the perfect example of that. This is the planet Reach. And as Martin O'Donnell's incredible score plays, Colonel Holland sends Noble Team to cure the insurrectionist rebellion due to Reach's importance to the United Nations Space Command, or more commonly known as the UNSC. But instead of finding humans or rebels, they had found Zanghili. The Covenant, a culmination of many alien species, had launched an invasion of Reach. After defending Oni's sword base and attempting to destroy a Covenant spire, Noble's team plans on placing a slipspace drive to destroy the supercarrier looming over the planet. Engaging in space combat, boarding the ship, and placing the bomb, they managed to get it working. But one thing is off. The timer for automatic detonation was destroyed due to enemy fire. And so, George sacrifices his life for the home he grew up on as a way to honor the planet and its people for what they gave to him.
Tell him to make it count.
Only mere seconds later, the Covenant show up with over a dozen supercarriers, making George's sacrifice meaningless. But George isn't alone in death. Kat, shot in the head by a sniper jackal while trying to escape a collapsing skyscraper. Carter, crashing his pelican into a carib to help his team. And Emil, backstabbed by an elite with an energy sword. After Noble Team's mission of giving an AI named Cortana to the captain of the Pillar of Autumn, Captain Jacob Keyes, is complete, Noble 6, the last member standing on his team, willingly stays on the planet to sacrifice his life and to take out as many as he can. And with death inevitable, he has one objective, and one objective only: to survive. You can try to fight back against the enemy. You can pick off as many as you can. You can survive for as long as you can for some Easter egg or some evac team to arrive. But no matter what you do, Noble 6 still dies. And he will always die, no matter how many times you play this game, over and over again. What's so compelling about Noble Team's deaths is that each one is ironic or poetic in some way. The way each member is killed off has to do with their character and or personality. Though it's subtle, it helps put a layer of extra depth into the campaign. The plot is engaging, memorable, and manages to give the player dread as each member is killed. It's a losing battle that the player can't escape from, and it's unforgettable.
It didn't take long for Reach to fall. Our enemy was ruthless, efficient, but they weren't nearly fast enough. For you had already passed the torch, and because of you, we found Halo, unlocked its secrets, shattered our enemy's resolve. Our victory, your victory, was so close, I wish you could have lived to see it. But you belong to Reach. Your body, your armor, all burned and turned to glass. Everything. Except your courage. That you gave to us. And with it, we can rebuild.
Halo Reach's story is incredible because it's not only unique, but it's also incredibly subtle and compelling. It's the only story I've seen that has a major focus on its setting, that being the planet Reach. All of the very well done cinematic shots help give focus to the setting as the music plays, and it's stated that Reach is incredibly important. This helps create a story that is dedicated to the protection of the planet and its inhabitants. And as the story progresses, the members of Noble Team start to go missing in action. The player is given a massive sense of existential dread, and as more and more Covenant invade the planet, and when humanity runs out of nukes to fight back, the characters know that they won't win the fight, but they continue anyway, and it helps set the themes for the story. My interpretation of Halo Reach has always been about not just how people die in war, but also how we can never give up in a situation that we know we can't control. It's about the sacrifices people make for the moral good, and it's about existential dread that situations like this can bring. In the end, Halo Reach managed to give me characters that are truly heroic. People who would sacrifice themselves for others. People that jump into an unwinnable battle willingly because they are true heroes. Halo Reach is a story about people who put up the best fight they can. But even in death, they managed to help set off the events that bring the human Covenant war to an end. And that to me is Halo Reach, a story about heroes who went missing in action and their fight against the Covenant that may have costed their own lives, but managed to save humanity. Halo Reach, in my opinion, is truly beautiful. And as the last game Bungie worked on for the Halo series, it managed to go out with a bang. The set pieces are grand, the level design and gameplay are engaging, while also being replayable. Halo Reach has excellent characters that manage to subtly show such depth, and lastly, a plot, a story, and theming that is truly compelling. That's what I love about Halo Reach, and why I think it's a masterwork. But let's be honest, the best part about Halo Reach is the forklift.